Israeli police have recommended that Benjamin Netanyahu be indicted on charges of bribery and breach of trust, throwing the Prime Minister's political future into doubt. It's now up to Israel's Attorney General to decide whether or not to file charges. Among the allegations, Netanyahu is accused of accepting, over a period of 9 years, gifts worth hundreds of thousands of euros. Any indictment would focus on whether or not political favours were granted in exchange for the gifts. The Prime Minister, though, has strenuously denied the charges. Take a listen.
During my time as Prime Minister, great pressures have been placed to open at least 15 investigations against me, with the aim of toppling me from power. It all began with explosive headlines, live TV shows, some with thunderous police recommendations, just like this evening. All these attempts, without exception, will end without anything.
Well, France 24's Iris Makler has been covering this story closely for us from Jerusalem. She has more now on Netanyahu's plans to fight those charges.
It was a strong speech, a battle cry, if you like. The part that you played earlier is part of what he has been saying. It's a witch hunt by the police, an attempt to topple him, an attempt by the media also to topple him and his opposition who can't defeat him at the ballot box. But he went on to say something that was larger, broader, if you like. He said that what has always motivated him has been the good of Israel, from his days as a soldier, through his days at the United Nations, then as Treasurer and now as Prime Minister. If he wanted to make money, he would be elsewhere, he said. He then went on to say that since the good of Israel is what motivates him, he intends to stay on as Prime Minister. He's not going to resign, he's not even considering it. So he is going to tough it out. That's the message we got. Very statesmanlike, I have to say, strong speech from him. That's the message he gave to the people of Israel tonight. Every Saturday night for the past year, hundreds of Israelis have gathered here in Petach Tikva, near the home of Israel's Attorney General. They're protesting how long it's taking to investigate Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for offences including accepting gifts of cigars and champagne.
I'm here because of my kids, and I'm here because I love my country, and something terrible has happened to my country. It was taken by a hostile takeover, by corruption.
The organiser of this protest is Meni Naftali, who was part of the Prime Minister's household staff. He fell out with Netanyahu and his wife when they didn't renew his contract.
Obviously, I saw cigars and champagne. I poured the champagne myself and bought things and took in the presents they received.
In Jerusalem, if you want to buy your own cigars, they're not difficult to find. There are 3 cigar shops within 10 minutes of the Prime Minister's residence, including this one, the oldest in the city. But cigars here are very expensive.
Yeah, the tax is very high. We have 92% tax and 70% VAT. So if you go to the duty free, it's half price.
Netanyahu remains popular, despite the police investigations. He's Israel's second longest serving Prime Minister, a right-winger at home on the world stage, and a master of party politics, according to veteran journalist David Horowitz.
I well understand why Israelis keep re-electing Netanyahu.
That's what I was going to ask.
Because it's been a really difficult period in this region, and hey, the country, relatively speaking, has been secure. Israelis, they don't love Netanyahu, but they have a certain respect for Netanyahu.
Netanyahu doesn't deny receiving cigars or pink champagne for his wife. He relies on a loophole, saying they were gifts from friends. 2 friends in particular, both billionaires. Israeli businessman turned Hollywood producer Arnon Milchan and Australian media and gambling tycoon James Packer. Netanyahu doesn't give interviews about the current police cases, but he does talk about them, mostly at rallies organised by his party, the Likud.
I'll say it again, what I've said from the start. There won't be anything because there isn't anything. The media and the left wing that serves it invent an endless number of these cases, so that maybe something will stick.
Israeli media have been reporting leaks from the police investigation. According to this material, Arnon Milchan and James Packer, Netanyahu's wealthy friends, share an assistant in Israel. This woman, Hadass Klein. She told police the Prime Minister or his wife would call her when their supplies of cigars or champagne ran low, so she could send more. Netanyahu denies this.
He did not receive gifts. He demanded these gifts. So once you demand it, it is not a gift.
Amiai Alon is a member of the opposition Labour Party and a former chief of Israel's Navy. And the Navy is currently involved in a new corruption scandal. Prime Minister Netanyahu takes delivery of a new submarine from Germany. Israeli police are now investigating a deal to purchase 3 more German subs and 4 missile boats at a cost of more than €1 billion. They're looking at how the tender for the boats was issued and then cancelled, and they're investigating millions of euro in kickbacks.
When we look on the people around the Prime Minister, and we see the flow of the money, this is corruption. Well, I cannot blame the Prime Minister himself, but finally he is responsible. He is responsible on the process. This is why we vote for him.
Netanyahu's not a suspect in this case, though he has been asked to give a statement. Police are questioning one of his closest allies, his cousin, David Shimron. Shimron is Netanyahu's lawyer and was also lawyer for the Israeli representative of the German shipbuilder.
Is that going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back where Netanyahu is concerned? Not so long as he's not directly implicated in it.
Many Naftali's Saturday night rallies have expanded. Tens of thousands now turn out in Tel Aviv to protest the rising tide of corruption. It remains to be seen if either the cigars or the submarines will sink Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel's great political survivor.